Chapter 7. Nothing can truly prepare you for the changes life brings except for a belly laugh, steady feet, and a daring love for the thrill of the ride. Sarah Jackson. Beverly's story. My parents divorced when I was growing up. I was bounced back and forth from mom to stepdad and dad to stepmom. I went to 12 schools in 12 years, and in the midst of it all, my mother married a man who wasn't very healthy to be around, and even gave me a beer when I was only 12 or 13. By the time I was 14, he expected something in return. He took me to bed against my wishes. So that was my first deadly experience with alcohol and heartbreak. By the time I was 18, I dated men or boys, but I was mostly afraid of them. I got married right out of high school because I was insecure. I drank to tolerate sex. I think I was afraid of it. I decided I didn't need to be dependent on a man, although I did want children and a husband. I wasn't in love, and I wanted the storybook, husband-wife, picket fence, and all of that, so I decided to divorce him. I went back to barber school with the aid of the state and graduated. I went to work as a barber in the early 70s. I supported myself for a few years, and at age 26, I started my own barbershop business. 6 months later, I married another man who happened to be a regular daily drinker. In my experience, drinking was a normal part of life, and I never thought to question whether it was good or bad. So I started joining him in his happy hour. When he was not having a good day and we both were drinking, he would hit me. So that was my first physical abuse. This went on for 3 years until I decided I didn't want to be punched anymore. I didn't like the way he treated my children either, so I divorced him. My drinking went from having fun in the evening after work to drinking because I didn't want to deal with any emotions or being lonely or insecure or whatever was going on then. When I got a DWI, the courts made me go into treatment, so I stayed sober for 5 years. I owned my own barbershop in the 70s and 80s. Toward the end of this period, my children had been dabbling with alcohol and marijuana themselves as teens. In 1987, my oldest son, who was 17, sniffed gas and died. Anniversaries of my son's death and his birthday still make me feel terrible. At the end of my 5th year of sobriety, I went right back to alcohol, but I couldn't stand the hangovers. At that time, cocaine was prevalent in the Northwest, and I easily found it. Not only did I sniff it, I had learned how to freebase it, which was more addictive. It took a lot of money for this habit. My husband and I divorced, and I started hanging out with people who did drugs. I was very depressed because my lost son and divorced my husband. My other son was out on the streets as well, and I didn't want to feel the pain for these events. I tried sobriety on for 10 years after that. I continued. I felt very empty, and I didn't like how I was living and the destructive things I was doing. I tried to go to college, and I made 1.5 years before I started using again. I knew who God was, but I didn't have a personal relationship with Him. I was raised in what parents thought was a Christian family. I had to go to Catholic school for a few years, but I still didn't have any kind of relationship with God. I had a feeling of emptiness in my heart. It dawned on me one day when I was coming home from school that my son was God's child, not just mine. This realization gave me the incentive to move from Spokane back to Everett area and go to treatment for the 4th or 5th time. That is where I met Judy Hoff. She had a church and a ministry for broken people. I'm sure that God sent me there. I wanted to volunteer. My barber license had expired, but I volunteered to cut hair for women who were seeking a way to heal their brokenness. At that time, Judy's ministry was feeding the low-income and homeless around the neighborhood, so I volunteered to help there, too. which made me feel better about myself. Judy told me about the new ministry she had started called Queen It's a New Day, and she invited me to attend. When I became a queen, I received new clothes and a makeover. The biggest blessing, though, was the mentoring I got from Judy. She reminded me that I wasn't just a recovering drug addict. I had come from some place where people cared about me. I knew I could go back and start a business again. I didn't have the desire then. I didn't feel like I wanted to yet, but at least I was reminded that I was somebody respectable at one time. My recovery began with Queen It's a New Day and the confidence I received from Judy. I gave my life to the Lord then and got very interested in helping the community even more. I was encouraged to go back to barber school and renew my license. Judy also encouraged me to learn another field which I loved. I started massaging her feet one day and she said, "I think you need to go to school for that," and I did. It was truly a blessing what a wonderful woman paid for my tuition and said I could pay her back when I could afford to. I do have a license now for my own business. I deliver reflexology treatments in people's homes and at a couple of senior housing places. I'm a licensed barber as well. I support myself with that work and continue to volunteer in my community. I love working with Queen It's a New Day program and helping others get sober, get over the brokenness caused by being raped or beaten. We don't have to live like that. We don't have to accept that life. We are somebody and God loves us. This program has taught me that I am somebody. I am valuable and I will always be grateful for this new beginning in my life. I'm on an uphill swing, and I'm forever growing.
Reflection. How does this story make you feel? Have you or someone you know had similar experiences? If you could forgive those who have harmed you, what might be different in your heart and life today? Forgiveness is a choice. This formula will help you to process the unforgiven areas of your life. Number 1, write down everyone who has hurt you. And you can pause this if you want. Number 2, write down as if you were speaking to each one what he or she did and how that behavior affected you and your life. Number 3, write God a letter asking Him to help you forgive. Number 4, write a letter to each person forgiving him or her of the behaviors, words, and actions that harmed you, not to be sent. Number 5, write yourself a letter and forgive yourself for holding on to hurt and resentment. Number 6, write yourself a letter forgiving God, yourself, and all others. And finally, number 7, now receive complete healing and give yourself permission for a fresh start and rejoice. It's a new day.